I don't know about you, but I always found many of the classic D&D villains rather 2D. Demons and devils I found were boring, evil for evil's sake. Illithids are aliens that want to eat your brains, straight out of a 60s slasher movie. And let's not get started on all the slave erasers who, after years of existence, are still just paper thin. And I won't deny the fun of cleaving through endless ranks of faceless demons. And villainy for villainy sake can also be very fun. But I think we can do better in our campaigns, rather than just rely on the same old tropes we always have. To me, the far more compelling villains are those who began their path to evil with all the best intentions in the world. Those who saw something wrong with the world and decided to fix it, no matter the cost. But the further they walked, the more and more they found a darker path. After all, the road to evil is paved in good intentions. So, let's talk Celestials, the golden shiny boys of D&D, inspired by the angels of mythology. We have stories of fallen angels, so expect a wild ride as we explore the world of Celestials in D&D. What do you mean this is it? There's like 3 pages and like 2 stat blocks. They're servants of gods? Which gods? Any good god? Does Thor have angels? Does Bahamut have angels and dragons? Is Bahamut a celestial? Why are giant eagles celestials? Is the criteria for celestial just wings now? This isn't celestial. This is just a buff guy with wings. And where are all the low CR monsters? If I'm running a low level campaign against celestials, my party are fighting Pegasus, snakes, and unicorns. If I run this campaign, Peter's going to be knocking at my door. These are not celestials, these are just animals. Whilst older D&D lore does go a bit further and in a bit more detail about celestials, it's still a bit wishy-washy. Half the time it's not these are otherworldly celestials, these are just guys. This guy's name could be Frank, right? That's not a celestial. If only there was something to help people for using celestials at their tables, and even using them as villains. Which segues nicely into today's sponsor, me. That's right, and I put my money where my mouth is and teamed up with the incredible Joy Makes Monsters to create the Codex of Celestials, which is currently live on Kickstarter. The base book will include pages of lore and ideas for creating your own celestial bad guys alongside 6 celestial stat blocks, but with stretch goals including the addition of human faithfuls, a battle with an archangel themselves, and even a stat block for all the heavenly virtues and their paragons. If we hit our target, you will likely get 20 plus stat blocks and lore. God, what have I got myself into? All loyal faithful will get their name in the book, and high-level supporters can even get a personalised piece of art by the lovely Joy to be included in the book itself. So join the faithful, pledge your soul to the great celestial angels as proof of your devotion. But anyway, enough shilling for now, and back on topic. To me, there are 3 things that make celestials bad. Well, not bad, they're lawful good or good, and anyway, what I mean, you know what I mean. Bad thing 1. Celestials are good. Not by interpretation, they're just correct. There's kind of an assumption in D&D that good is a very real concept, not open to interpretation. As such, if you're fighting a celestial, it's only because you're in the wrong or the celestial has fallen. Morality isn't up to interpretation. Second thing, celestials feel way too human. They're creatures from other planes. They just feel like Ned Flanders, but buff and with wings. They're the trademark nice guys, but with none of the negative connotations of such. And 3, the stat blocks are basic. In this video, we will focus on the first 2 for the most part. In fact, I think both these issues can be solved with the same solution. So let's start by looking at the very first point of absolute morality. Whilst we as humans kind of agree that some things are bad, for example, murder, even that can be contextualized. If someone killed someone out of self-defense or killed someone out of revenge, well, what part of that becomes okay? All you need to do is look at the trolley problem to decide that morality is not simple, and many people disagree on what is good or the correct choice of action. And I'm not sure about you, but the idea of an absolute morality really irks me. After all, any evil action can be justified by this idea of the greater good. We could go into further detail about this and have a big discussion about theocracy, but that's a whole other video that I don't think we're really going to be into today because, oh boy. So let's take this concept, which irks me so much, the idea of an absolute good in the universe, something whose every action it takes is for good. Now this great being has created the perfect plan for the universe, which will result in the most good, and its followers will enact this plan to the greatest of their abilities. And that is where the Celestials come into play. Being servants of this ultimate force for good, it is down to them to enact this so-called great plan. Everything they do, every action they take is to further enforce the coming of this inevitability. And this is where we get to our second point on Celestials feeling far too human. Individual Celestials have their own beliefs and are generally good natured, but individual morality, unlike in humans, does not matter. Any action can be justified if it is part of the great plan. This can see generally good and kind creatures becoming merciless killers if the great plan tells them to do so. In fact, let's take that lawful stupid one step further. If we make Celestials the epitome of lawful good, how about if a Celestial cannot actually refuse an order given to them by one of a higher rank? After all, those of a higher rank in Celestial society must know more of the great plan, so their instructions must be followed to perfection. This intense, almost hive mind approach to Celestials takes the steps of these greater good and enforces it across a hierarchical society. So then what happens when one of the archangels interprets the great plan in a way that would see the complete conquest of the mortal realms? How easily the Celestials could be turned to war. Despite their good nature, the cries for mercy are completely unheard. After all, this is all in the will of the great plan. And the third point being stat blocks. Well, this was something that I wanted to focus on when I looked at making Celestials for my own home campaign. There was a couple of things that I thought Celestials needed. For one, as we mentioned previously, some low CR monsters. After all, if I were having low level characters fighting Celestials, I didn't want them fighting basically a god each time. And it was always weird to me that demons sort of got foot soldiers, but Celestials didn't. Like, I never understood why Celestials were just supposed to be inherently stronger than demons. Um, Anyway, so some low level CR stat blocks is what we needed. Additionally, what I thought would be really helpful was some abilities that tied them all together. This is what you see in a few other stat blocks, but for the Celestials, I really wanted to ramp home this idea of the orders and the hierarchy, and this idea of them supporting each other in combat. So I started off by giving all Celestials resistance to non-magical attacks, magic resistance, and magical dark vision. This to me seemed a great way to tie in this otherworldly element of Celestials without too much work on my half. But then additionally, I gave them the ability Order Absolute. This means friendly Celestials benefit from being close to other Celestials, getting a small bonus to their attack rolls and saving throws. And this ability only gets stronger the higher level Celestials you are facing. For example, the lowly Galathim gives +1 to all allies in range. But higher level creatures like Paragons and Virtues give much more significant bonuses. But I think anything more at this point would be considered spoilers. And so if any of this has been of interest to you, please do go support the release. This has been a massive labour of love for both me and everyone else involved. If not, that's completely fine. Perhaps share the link with someone who might be interested, and if nothing else, hopefully that this has inspired you to create your own celestial monsters. As always, I'd be very interested to hear what you have down in the comments below, and if you're not already, subscribe. But for now, I'm Bearded Halfling, and thank you for listening.